The first reporter of the Congress is Chiriatev Mikhail Nikolaevich. Mr. Chiriatev is corresponding member of the International Academy of Ecology, Man and Culture Protection Sciences, advisor of the Russian Academy of Natural Sciences, chairman of the Saint-Petersburg branch of the National Roerich Committee, Russia, member of the board trustees of the International Roerich Memorial Trust, Kullu. Mr. Chiriatev graduated from the chemistry of Leningrad State University, where he works for more than 20 years. He carried out research on the fields of cosmos anthropoecology and bioelectronics, including researchers developing psychic energy. One of the creators and scientific secretary of the Commission of the Development, Scientific and Cultural Legacy of Nicholas Roerich in the National Academy of the USSR. He is the author of over than 60 articles, one of the main organizers of the first cultural program in space, Cosmos, Man and Culture, and at Mir Orbital Station in 1990. And now we give the word to So, dear friends, I congratulate you with the 4th International Congress, and I want to say that in the periodical chain of all manifested elements, from the atoms to the star systems, number 4 is very important, and it is. And I'd like to say that this Congress should give a great impulse that will combine all the success of the previous 3 Congresses. And I'm very glad that soon it will be in our great capital, Moscow. Today is the great day of Saint Michael, who is the man in the host of heaven angels, and all the source, all the force of power is given by the Archangel Mikhail, and it is the time of trials for the whole humanity.
А потом уже в более свободном полете прокомментирую более сущностные стороны того, о чем...
I would like to read all the report and then to comment on the themes that will be in the report. So, the high knowledge is impossible for those who try to judge spirit with the mind attached to its material vessel. A man might seek confirmation of wisdom and knowledge in such external manifestations as material evidence. He is unworthy to the initiated great mysteries of the book of sacred Sophia. Anyone who denies the spirit and doubts is starting for the enjoyment for the material shell, a priori will never be able to penetrate these secrets, the words of Helen Blavatsky. It's time to gather stones in the construction of the new world. In the 20th century, what is a qualitative leap to bringing the modern physical picture of the world closer to the concepts of Eastern philosophy. Scientific ideas really began to change, especially thanks to quantum mechanics. This also manifests itself in the assessment of ideas of inclusion, including inclusion of the cosmos in the process of information and energy transformation in the interrelated phenomena of nature. Compared with the past century, the limitations of space-time scales of our interactions have become very relative. Events in one part of the planet quickly resound in other parts. The dynamics of events reaches unprecedented speeds. What is used to happen over centuries now happens over decades. Natural scientific phenomena have been increasingly showing their interdependence. This became evident after the emergence of the environment disbalance and disasters through the threatened life itself. On one hand, the development of sciences has contributed into the integration of knowledge. On the other, to the self-targeted growth of human civilization, in which excessive rationalization, pragmatization, and lack of spirituality of methods of scientific of and technical approaches to nature and society have led to painful processes that destroy the system of biosphere and noosphere. Wars, epidemics, increased crime, ethnic discord, environmental disasters, and democratic tensions resulted from ignoring the basic laws of dogma. The accumulation of knowledge has turned into an attempt to build a puzzle, but the elements of the mosaic not be assembled into a single whole, because it is not possible to create a single picture of the manicular funds. The science is often busy creating various models based on hypotheses and theories, which are also changed over time as a result of new discoveries. And a number of discoveries have important evolutionary value, but not always scientists are able to properly understand and interpret them from a spiritual standpoint. Humans can't combine in their consciousness these often contradictory puzzles, hypotheses, theories, mechanical and digital innovations, artificial intelligence, and as a result, the living meaningful, adequate common space for noble and useful life activities is not created. Recommendations of a number of philosophers, experts, politicians are also biased and manipulative. Our time is characteristic of unprecedented scale of the spread of lies and other phenomena that
Чувств с помощью приборов и аппаратов зависит от широты сознания человека, его владением искусством мышления и самоконтролем. Если сознание качественно не меняется, тогда и то, что искусственно создает человек, имеет эти ограничения. Возникает кризис смыслов. Причина в том, что человек недостаточно знает самого себя, как микрокосм, а также духовную взаимосвязь космогенеза, антропогенеза и теогенезиса. Тайная доктрина, основы теософии, учение храма, агни-йога и творческое наследие Рерихов, многовековая мудрость Востока открывают новые пути для познания внутреннего человека и законов духовной космической эволюции. Совершенствование чувств и разума человека бесконечно. Это достигается высшими видами йоги, очищением оболочек внутреннего человека, особенно слоев принципа камы, накоплениями духа и дальнейшим самосовершенствованием под руководством учителя, принадлежащего к иерархии света. Как реакция на подобные процессы распада возникают и развиваются новые целостные космические по широте мысли картины мира. Теологическая теория ноосферогенеза Пьера де Шардена и научное учение академика Вернадского о биосфере и ноосфере, близкое по концептуально-философским позициям буддизму и Адвайта-Веданте, ведь Вернадский изучал труды с вами Вивекананда. В библиотеке Санкт-Петербурга, Академии наук, хранятся эти работы собрания сочинений с вами Вивекананды, который купил Вернадский в Лондоне в 1923 году с пометками Вернадского. Также эволюционную пользу принесли основные представления ярких мыслителей русского космизма, философы, ученые, художники, музыканты, поэты, религиозные деятели, которые способствовали воссозданию целостной, одухотворенной картины мира. Вершиной явлений русского космизма стало творчество Елены Петровны Блаватской и семьи Рерихов.
Also, evolutionary benefit brought the main represents of bright thinkers of Russian cosmism, philosophers, scientists, artists, musicians, poets, religious figures, who contributed to the reconstruction of a complete spiritualized picture of the world. The peak of this phenomenon was the work by Blavatsky and the Roerich family. By expanding consciousness in the spiritual way, a person begins to better understand directing much of his creative energy to technocracy to meet numerous petty needs, lead to degradation of the person and life in general. Because of selfish intentions and ignorance, the number of crimes and military conflicts increases. The biosphere and environmental suffer, artificial nutrition and not always useful synthetic medicine are created, and health is deteriorating. Educational systems are degrading, and scientific activity is becoming more and more applied, and a lot of money is spent on armament and other destructive means. The old scientists and technical paradigms begin to hinder the spiritual and evolutionary development of man itself. Genuine and correctly understood culture should become a key of priority in the development of society. This is the salvation of life itself on the planet. The higher must rule the lower. Knowledge and beauty, as the mind and heart of peoples, should determine the other means of development. But now, in many parts of the world, animal seeds and stomach instincts are trying to control the mind and heart of nations. Economic development has become an end in itself. Economy and politics try to control higher ways of development, spiritual life, art, science, education, and upbringing. The basic purposes of life are lost. The hierarchical principle of spiritual evolution is broken. The last event in the world confirmed the scale of the planetary crisis, about which the great teachers of mankind warned long ago. The outstanding Russian cosmos scientist Tsiolkovsky's disciple Alexander Chizhevsky and a number of his modern followers proved that the cycles of epidemics are connected with cosmic factors. Our great scientist, academician Vernadsky, spoke about the powerful cosmic influence of man on the biosphere, and the large-scale epidemic should also be considered in this connection. The creation of the Theosophical Society 145 years ago, the publication of the letters of Mahatmas and the secret doctrine, the lessons of the teaching of the temple, the teachings of living ethics, prepared humanity for the realization of inevitably of the global cycle transition to a new level of evolutionary development. The sixth sub-race of the fifth root race in the fourth circle. From the teaching of living ethics and the works of Roerich, we know that apparently this time has come for transition of mankind to this new stage of development, which is associated with the end of Kali Yuga and beginning of Satya Yuga. Waves of new cosmic fire energies are becoming to Earth. The magnetic axis of the Earth started to move towards Siberia, but the consciousness of many people was unprepared to these important dates in history. The biological epidemic must be considered to in relation to the moral epidemic, and that begins much earlier in the psychic epidemic, and now generating waves of madness in different countries. But the Roerich Pact and cultural movements of the people from different countries have made a great recovery in this process. But nevertheless, ignorance and selfishness lead to serious losses and create a lot of problems. Helena Roerich wrote in 1938, "You know that there may be times worse than war. You well know that we regard war as an infamy for the humanity. How then shall we name the times that would be worse than war? Perhaps one could call the putrefaction of humanity. Armageddon should not be understood as physical war. Armageddon is full of uncalculable changes. Epidemics will be the least of calamities. The main destructive results will come from psychic perversion. People will lose confidence. They will sharpen their minds in mutual injury. They will learn to hate all that exists beyond the boundaries of their own dwellings, falling into a state of irresponsibility and sinking into depravity. To this madness will be added one more, the most shameful one, the revival of the battle between masculine and feminine principles. Although most people are afraid of their grossest form and authorities are taking external measures against the coronavirus epidemic, um, not suspecting that it is acting through the blood, has its source in the polluted astral component of the inner man, and the blood serves as physical upadhyay or vehicle for kama, prana, and linga sharira. In this way, the epidemic of coronavirus spreads largely through the blood, but the blood is the carrier of principal kama and is saturated with prana, which at the physical level is represented by oxygen. If the kama is separated, then the blood clots and thrombus formation occurs, which is observed in this epidemic. Red blood cells associated with photic energy, and the cause of this disease also depends on the qualities of the man. That is why the people who have the first blood group, which belongs to the element of fire, of course, have the highest immunity. The spiritual state of the human determines mainly this protection. That the teachings of living ethics claim the cause of diseases lie in the root of the bond between the physical and astral world. The body reflects all the effects from the affirmations taking place at the all strata and recesses the cosmos. It seems to be clear as to what indissoluble correlation exists between macrocosm and microcosm. But except for the enlightened consciousness, this concept is not taken into consideration. If it were known how atmospheric pressure influences the organism, would one not strive for? The bond between the bodies and the interaction of currents must be investigated, for it is impossible to determine precisely the condition of organism in its elements throughout establishing the fiery correspondence. Sensitive investigation of the spiritual and psychic states will provide the possibility of discovering the fluids of dissolution. In the world, Taxica of adversaries acted on unprecedented scale, but the people will come forward under the hierarchy of forces of light, and next ascending stage of cosmos evolution. And now I will speak more precisely on the themes. It is not accidental that in 1931, while preparing the Pact of Roerich, it was the banner of peace was intermixed with blood, with saint blood, and in a special devoted to this ceremony church. And in this, Nicholas Roerich wrote that in this case there began a real connection with the hierarchy of light through the bloods, or through the couples of bloods. And there is a great sense under this ceremony, because the higher triad, Atma Buddhi Manas, or Father, Mother, Son of the East culture, connect everything with the lower life. And they connect with spirit with matter, material. And the higher manas, which is a part of, becomes the part of the four lower principles. and it creates, and in this way is created a great creative power, and the material lucid begins to look for, not look for, begins to be responsible for this formation of for the process of this formation. The fact is that in its creating power for heart, going through all the strata of material, opens the law of cosmic evolution, which gives to life all the difference of cosmic material. And for heart is the part of all the material which is the part of created nature, and metaphysically it is the objective thought of gods. It is the active powerful force which in its power creates bears the fourth principle of nature. So while this power begins to act on our earth, because certain times have come to our work, to our earth, and out of this stage it comes out that the spiritual karma manas begins to act through people, and a person can, as much a person can take in himself, so will be given to him. But when a person lives an animal life, he possesses only new animal instincts, and these new instincts and desires become the part of the animal part of human's body, and the purification of desires is the first main task of all the people. And the humanity is late to become with these processes, because it is used to, it is now lives in the impersonal connection with all material, and humanity becomes a slave, connected only with material things in this space, in this new space and spiritual space. That's why a person, to come out of this position, a person must think much about spiritual things. And that is the essence of the immunity that will become connected with every person. And the time will come when a person who is spiritual will be able to manifest the fiery rays, and these rays will help him a personal, a spiritual person, to transmutate all the space which is around him, because he is a vehicle on the physical plane, the vehicle of spiritual power. And this external situation is connected in global scale with all these things that happen in the whole world. And on the level of these epidemics of coronavirus, a person begins to be guided by these transmutations of astral, and getting knowledge. It is a bad thing that getting knowledge about these new things is connected with material things and the points of personal possession. And all these manifested now things, the problems in education, isolation of people, and going away from personal relations, this all interferes the worlds, subtle and physical, which are interconnected more and more. The subtle world is connected very much with desires and thoughts of people, but it is not studied now. And the harmony begins only from this subtle world. And the harmony of or disharmony of the subtle world influences the state of the person on many and different levels. It is connected with meridians and with nervous centers, and all the mankind is ill with it. Fiery energies interfere into nervous plexuses or centers, and they go through the through the meridians. They go into the inner person, and they make him ill. And we must study scientifically all these processes. And the person is late. The humanity is late more than 100 years, more than a century, to begin to study all these processes which were given by the spiritual people of the ancient worlds. The most common epidemics, bacterial epidemic, can come not only from bacteriological level of this disease. The laboratories study even just this bacteriological level, but the reason is on astral level, and that is why these subtle forms begin to connect with the persons who study them. And if a person doesn't know the laws of the subtle world, then he begins to be injured by these subtle forms of the disease. And there are joint forms of these diseases which come from different different parts of the other diseases, and they begin the one which we call the coronavirus now. There are many plants and fruit of the humanity which the mankind gave birth to by its negative thoughts, and they also help to, so to say, to make the diseases wider. And now we pay for these negative thoughts in our food, in our plants, and so on. From the atom to the star systems, all the forms of the being are the fruit of thought. And the thought connects all the chains of the worlds. And that is why, now I want to say a bit why Maya was created and how it influenced on the connecting the worlds. Many scientific discoveries begin to, and the fruits of the discoveries begin to implement into our life. Very different things. For example, dark energy, plasma, the quantum reactions, the changed states of consciousness, the studying of live organisms, new methods of suggestive influences, the works of the Kirlian couple, the searching for new sources of energy, cosmic ecology and parapsychology, psychology. These are the fruit of the scientific revolution to change the people's life. All these things are the source of psychic energy, and in this, and we must see in them the source of psychic energy and the fruits of psychic energy. And not only psychic energy, but the true culture. According to the laws of karma and reincarnation, the person will be in close connection with the reasons which humanity creates and which determine our further life. And in the end, I would like to say a bit that due to the astral light and to it and with the things that we speak about it just now, I think there will be a seminar when I will speak about this more, because it is Akasha, the all-penetrating substance. Was Akasha is the higher modification of the ether, and it creates the substance of the four lower principles of life. And Akasha is can percept all the life changes, and so Evgenia Mikhailovna interrupts the reporter. In the end, Mr. Chiriatev wants to say that it is like that Akasha is like a miracle. It can transmutate all the elements in a good way or in another way, and it can give to our Buddha all the results of our works, of our deeds.
Различных свойствах крови, на свойствах праны,
которые... All this has its influence and the result in different ways of the organism and in all the
очень зависимо от этих происходящих космических процессов. В конце хочется сказать, что приоритет подлинного...
And we must say that all the sense of spiritual evolution of the mankind, which about which Blavatsky and Roerich spoke, says that there is no another alternative as the taken to heart all the principles of our evolution in the whole sense. That is why we are responsible to give people the knowledge and to strive to the common good. Thank you for your listening to the report. Thank you, Mr. Chiriatev. It's a pleasure that St. Petersburg is taking part in our Congress, because it was St. Petersburg that was our host on the Congress. Thank you. There is one comment. I have only one little comment. I couldn't but react. You said that quantum physics, quantum mechanics, that the consciousness of the observer influences the result. I'd like to say that it is not, because the apparatus of quantum mechanics doesn't have this thought. The apparatus of quantum mechanics is an objective scientific mechanism, and I would like to have the ideal result. So, Mr. Chiriatev answers. That there is a person in this field of science. He is a very serious specialist who has, and he has the experiments, that the type of the question influences the observer, the type of the questions of the observer influences the micro world. And it is true, because the world of fire is atomic, and the molecular systems are lower than atomic, then the studies of these scientists are right. Mr. Chiriatev, says Evgenia Mikhailovna, thank you very much. I would like to say, because interconnection of the official science and the science which person make themselves is very different, and time will come when they will interconnect. And if we give a quote, we must be on the basis of what is known, and the basis of the secret doctrine and Agni Yoga are the most serious and basic teachings on which we stand. And the evolution doesn't stand on its place. Thank you.